Hello everyone and welcome back to the Ability 411. It is Wednesday and I am your host Amber Marcy. This week we're talking about how you can help as a caregiver, occupational therapist, physical therapist, what you can do to make our lives easier or somebody's life easier right after they get injured. And my take on this may be a little bit different than what you saw in the past videos, because I feel that you really have to go by how the individual is being affected by what happened to them. It's extremely hard to force somebody to do therapy who is not accepting of their disability at the time. You really need to embrace their feelings and what's going through their mind and try and work with the mental state with the physical state. It's very hard finding out that you're going to be in a wheelchair or that you have developed a disability that's going to keep you in a chair. And then do therapy on top of it. It's like I've just been bombarded with this huge change, and now you want me to like do therapy and learn how to live this way? Like, forget it. And so I really think that you need to be compassionate of how the person you are working with is feeling and where they are mentally. When I first got hurt, I was young. I was 15. I had tons of friends around. I never had a worry in the world. They were there. They were there to help me. They kept me positive. They kept me happy. You know, some people get injured at, 25, 26. That's when you can count your best friends on one hand. And it's hard. It's hard. I know people who have been through this. So I really believe that in order to be the best caregiver, occupational therapist, physical therapist, doctor, friend, is to understand where the person is at the time and go by that. If they need a minute to just sit and cry, give them that minute. I mean, that's what they need. And forcing them is I know something that needs to be done. When you go into a rehab hospital and you're going in there with an attitude of, this really sucks and I was just in this accident. Sometimes it's really good for a physical therapist or a doctor to actually explain to you, these are the things that could happen if you don't do this. You could really develop a really bad pressure sore if you don't do your pressure reliefs. Or, different scenarios. If you don't do your bowel program or cath on a regular basis, these are the problems that are going to happen. I'm going to go back to Erica's story. They never told her how important it was to stretch. It's so important. It's critical. I mean, she can tell you right now, she can't straighten her legs. And there's things that I think when someone's going through a really hard time, if you let them know, these are things that may happen in the future if we don't work on this now, may give them a little more incentive to better themselves. And not everyone's like that. I embraced my physical therapy wholeheartedly. And I really think it had to do with my age. I mean, I was young and I had a ton of friends around. But if you're dealing with somebody who's really struggling, I think you really need to understand that they are not just hurt physically. They're hurt emotionally. And if you see that and you're working in a rehab facility where mental health isn't available. I was so blessed where I went to physical therapy or therapy inpatient after my injury. I was extremely, extremely blessed to go to an awesome hospital called Mary Free Bed. And it's in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I live in Michigan. You all know that. And, there's my cat in the back. She's coming to say hi. And I had a psychiatrist while I was there. So I not only was getting the physical therapy, but I was getting the mental part as well. Unfortunately, not all rehab facilities have that. But you really need to be aware, this is for caregivers, PTs, doctors, OTs, of your patient's mental state while you are trying to rehab them as well. Because if both aren't meshing and working together, it's going to be really hard to move forward in therapy and get the most out of it. So that's really what I have to say about this week's topic. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not an occupational therapist, and I'm not a caregiver. So it can be difficult. I'm sure it can be really difficult if you come across a patient who's just, pissed off at the world. They've just been catapulted into this awful situation, and they're mad. Understand that they're mad before you're trying to get them to dress themselves, and understand that they may need some time, and just help them as much as you can. But I think that's where the huge gap is that the OTs and the PTs and the caregivers, and maybe even some of the doctors, aren't educated enough on how an accident, an illness, can really affect your mental state to the point where you don't give a shit about rehab. But you have to fix your mental state before you can work on your physical state. So I hope that makes some sort of sense, that if your mind isn't right, how can your body be right? And I think sometimes caregivers, occupational therapists, PTs, I've listed these a million times, need to be a little bit more compassionate. And that's where I'm going to leave you guys today. I hope this made some sort of sense. And once again, I look like a wreck, but I just got back from the gym. You all know what I do on Wednesdays now. So I hope you all have a great week, and I hope that this helped answer some questions. Please email us. We want to hear what you have to say. We're here to help. So you know where to find us, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a great night.